everybody, it's Franny, and today we're going to be working on the 996 Turbo. And you're probably wondering, well, how come we're not working on the 308? Well, so the shock assemblies, we got them all rebuilt, and when I opened them up, they were kind of a mess. They had oil everywhere. So I contacted the folks that did the work, and they're like, oh my God, send those right back. So we did, and now we're waiting for them to come back again. So I thought this would be kind of a fun project to do while we're waiting for the parts to come back for the 308. So we've got a few issues here, like this thing hanging down here. This is a problem, and this whole front air dam is completely jacked up. So I have a new one here, a new air dam. We'll go ahead and install this. And in addition, we're missing some bits underneath here as well. So we've got some parts falling down. We got some other issues with some broken bits. So I have a new wheel well liner here. So we've got a few new parts to put in. I think it's gonna look great when we get done because this looks pretty sad, huh? Okay, well, I've got the car up on a jack stand so it's totally secure. I have the front right wheel off, and I think our first step is gonna be to pull that wheel well in there and then start taking off some of these bits underneath here that this is kind of a mess under here. We got quite a few things to take off. So, okay, let's get to it. I'm gonna start by taking off this forward part of the wheel well here. The wheel well is actually in a couple of pieces, but this is the part we need to replace. Looks like the majority of these are T25s. We have a little push pin guy up here, so we're gonna have to pull the center of this out to get this guy out. And I have a special little tool for that. This thing comes in handy for popping all sorts of like door panel pins, all sorts of things. This guy works pretty well. And in addition, there's one lone Phillips here. That's also part of this forward air dam. We have to replace that anyway, so we'll go ahead and take this off. And underneath here, there are a couple more. And it's also a little bit different. Looks like it's a shoulder screw as well. There's a little shoulder in there. All right, with all that loose, I'm gonna go ahead and raise the car up a little bit so it's a little easier to work underneath it. And we'll start taking some of the bits off. And we have a couple more we have to take off here, and a screw up here we need to take off as well. There we go. All right, so that's that piece out. Yay. So a big question I have is exactly how does this thing come off? There are some slots here, and I bet you dollars to donuts there's little clips in there. We just need to release each one of them would be my guess. So I read online it's actually not too difficult to get off. I thought it actually had clips in it and kind of looked like it did, but it's really just sort of press fit in. So all we need to do with this screw on the end out, we should be able to just sort of pull it out. There we go. Snap-a-doodle. All right, well, we'll move around to the front. I need to remember we need to take this screw off on the other side as well. I think it's a good idea to get this one started on this side as well. If we can get up to about here-ish, I think the rest of it we can pull straight out. There we go. All right, good. That's that. Now my splitter here, or I guess this is called a lower front lip. So mine has broken here, right where it sort of mounts. So it's a little bit weird to get out, but should be able to work this out. It helps a lot if you can push this little tab up. That releases it. So that certainly makes it a lot easier to get out. Pull this guy out, pull that out. All right, there we go, and that's the last one. So that appears to be the hot setup, just to use the screwdriver here and push the little tabs up just a tad. Then they can come out of these slots that we've got here all the way around. Since this front lip appears to be completely independent of the other pieces and the wheel well that we have to replace, let's go ahead and put that on now and just sort of get it done because we've got to lock it down on each end anyways, and we're gonna have to put in the new wheel well to lock it down. So let's go ahead and get the new piece in. Should be reasonably straightforward, we'll see. I'm gonna take this opportunity to clean things up a little bit under here. This part is not an actual Porsche part. It's one of the cheaper knockoff parts. And the reason is because this really is pretty much a sacrificial part. And you saw what shape the old one was in, so I thought we'd go with a little cheaper one. because we'll probably end up replacing it again. But we'll have to see. The instructions want you to screw it in. They want you to do all sorts of crazy stuff. Not doing any of the crazy stuff. I'm not going to do that. This thing should pop in. There's a zillion clips all the way around it. It should hold in. So let's see how it goes. Some notes about how to get this thing installed. I'd read from others that it's just a bit too short. So where it wraps around and hooks into the wheel wells, it's just a bit short. You can see I started in the center and worked my way out, but it was too short on the end. So then I went ahead and pulled it back off again and thought, well, let me start in the wheel well and work my way out. But that didn't work either because the clips just will not line up. In the end, the hot setup is to start in the center and get it as far as you possibly can all the way around the car to the wheel wells, which we'll deal with in just a minute. I think if we have any hope at all of getting the ends pulled tight enough, these have got to be all the way in their slots so they're not taking up any room, and we've pulled all the slack out of it. On my part, the hole on the end was not drilled out, so I used an awl and sort of punched a center hole and then drilled it out. And I worked and worked that part with the yellow pry bar and still couldn't get it over the edge. I had to come up with a little better method. So I was able to finally get it on. The hot setup was to use a heat gun, warm this whole section up until it's good and warm, and then I was able to get this pry bar there and then hit this guy with the rubber hammer, bang, 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 and I got it to go on. So it's pretty fussy, and you have to really warm this thing up to get it to stretch enough. I'll show you on the other side. And while I'm in here and have the wheel off, I always take the opportunity to check hoses, connections, kind of squish these hoses a little bit. Do they still feel pretty compliant? You know, are they hard and weird? Looking around any of the connections, do we see any leaks or anything? It all looks pretty good in here. Same thing with looking at our shock tower here. Want to make sure that the pistons aren't leaking at all. Everything's good and dry. Kind of dry is what you're looking for, pretty much for everything here. And we have our big ceramic brakes here. So this car has the X50 option on it, which gives you the bigger turbos and the bigger intercoolers, but it also allows you to spec carbon ceramic brakes. So when this car was new, brand new, whoever spec'd it went ahead and spec'd the ceramic brakes in addition to the X50 package. It's a lot of money. These brakes are super duper expensive. But even though they're very, very expensive, they do wear really, really well. These are absolutely original, and there's no lip at all on either end of this. This looks like they're brand new, and the pads have tons of meat on them still. So that's incredible, actually. These things are practically lifetime brakes, unless you drive the car more than, say, 150,000 miles. But boy, this car has, what, 60 something on it, close to 70, 65, something like that on it, and you'd never even know these brakes have even been used. Pretty amazing. The other nice thing about them is they stay really clean. Since they don't throw out tons and tons of brake dust all over the place, the wheels stay really clean as well. All right, well, I think our next step is going to be to get our fender well in. The reason is because we can't attach this lower chin here, this lower lip, until that piece is on, because it has to kind of go over it. This is our replacement fender well piece. It's kind of big and goofy here. See these pieces here, this rubber bit here, and then there's another one here as well. You can kind of see the little tabs and how it's attached. Well, we actually ordered all the parts, and you can buy those pieces separately. So we don't need them, because evidently if you buy the entire wheel well assembly, it comes with all these bits on there. And we get most of our Porsche parts from Auto House AZ. Love that place. Just call them up and they send us the parts out. It's been great, and they've been really, really good with returns as well. Those folks are amazing. This is our old part, and you can see here on the end here, it's all cracked and broken, and this other rubber piece here isn't even attached to anything. So what it should look like is this. It's a little hard to tell, but we've got this piece here, which is absolutely missing on the old part, and we're all locked down with this rubber bit here. So yeah, this part was pretty broken. So let's go ahead and install the new one. Oh, it has to actually go inside this. Yeah. There we go. There we go. So there's two different sizes here. A smaller one that goes here, and then the larger shoulder one goes here. We also have our Phillips screw that goes on the end here, but we have to get this lower chin thing all the way around it, which is going to be a bear. It looks like there's more gap on this side than there was on the others. And you can see the distance here. We've got quite a bit to go. This piece here has to sit over the top of that. So it's going to be kind of a bit. We're still out a little bit here, so we can get ourselves, oh gosh, 1/8 of an inch or something at the most. It's going to be a thing. I've already drilled my hole here like we had to on the other side, so I'm all set. I just got to work this whole piece here over the top of that. That's just going to be a thing. So what I did on the other side was to use my heat gun and warm up this whole section here. And it takes a little bit of time actually to get it good and warm. And then I used a pry bar like this and pulled it over and used my rubber hammer to sort of bang it into place. So that worked last time. We'll see if it works this time. You want to be careful with your heat gun here. It gets really, really hot, so you don't want to leave it on any area for any length of time for certain. And you know what? Before I do that, I'm going to see if I can bang this in a little bit more. And it helped a smidgen. I think it did. It gave us about 1/16 of an inch, and that's about it. Let's warm this guy up. All right, we'll give that a try. It's pretty hot, actually. Almost can't touch it hot. Yeah, there it goes. Look at that. Okay, we should be able to get our screw in. Snap a doodle. All right, so that's definitely the way to do it. If you try to just wrench it on with it cold, you could crack something in here, pull it too hard, bad things could happen. So the heat gun really worked well. It's still, yeah, it's pretty warm. You kind of want to get it warm, so warm that you wouldn't want to leave your hand on there for any length of time. Not hot enough, of course, to warp it, but I'd say, what, 130 degrees, something like that? 125, 30 degrees, something like that. And you want to heat it all the way up to this bend and all the way back, because anything past that's not going to make any difference. Well, I'm super stoked about that. Woohoo! We got it on, and it's good and solid. Oh my gosh. The instructions for this were really funny. They said you're going to need to put double-sided sticky tape, and you're going to have to screw and drill in a zillion little holes underneath it and all this stuff. I'm like, no, you don't have to do any of that. It's fine. And with it stretched across the car like that, there's zero chance it's going to come out in the front. So I think we're good here. In fact, I think we're pretty much done. Next step is just going to be to put the wheel back on and get the car down on all fours. So let's go ahead and do that. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Questions or comments, go ahead and leave them down below, and you know I'll get right to them. We've got all that work to do on the Ferrari, so make sure you're subscribed. Hit the little bell next to it to be notified. We got a lot of work to do. We're going to be working on the 356 after that, so it's going to be pretty sweet. All right, well, thank you so much for watching, and as always, a very special thank you to our Patreon supporters. Until next time, safe travels. Bye.